Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falak Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that have proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Jayant Gundewar. Hello, Mr. Gundewar. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Same here. Thank you, Falak.
Thank you. So let me give you a quick brief about Mr. Gundewar. With nearly 3 decades of experience in the IT and telecom industry, he has delivered exceptional results and impact at highly rated companies like Ingram Micro, NTT, Dimension Data, Sify and Wipro. He has worked in fast-paced, intense and high-performance-driven assignments in sales, business development, marketing, IT and delivery operation roles. Currently, he is serving NTT Ltd in the position of Vice President, whereby he is overseeing P&L responsibility for India IT services across all technology towers, leading a team of 2,800 plus technology experts and building and growing services portfolio across on-site, hybrid and shared service models amongst other roles. So Mr. Gundewar, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
Thanks, Falak, for the introduction. I think that makes my job easy. Like you mentioned, I spent close to 30 years plus across various geographies in India, serving Indian clients across some leading multinational companies as well as large Indian conglomerates. My journey started in 1992, fresh out of college, with a 2-year stint in a product management role. After that, I started my career with Wipro. Very early days, I would say. At those days, Wipro was still a soap and oil company, and we were also selling computers at that point in time. So very early start in the computer business. A long journey at Wipro, close to about 14 years across 7 different roles, and really learned, I would say, all the ropes in a corporate world. So I had a career spanning across product management, sales, business development, also looking after operations. And for some time, I was running the IT in the company. The last couple of years, I was the chief strategy officer for one of the leading businesses in Wipro. Many different, I would say, roles in different geographies also. Worked in both west of India, south of India, handling regional roles, as well as then the country leadership roles. Very fortunate to have been through leadership programs at Wipro, conducted by Mr. Premji himself. And I think those learnings remain forever with some of us who've worked with Wipro. A lot of culture building, I would say, happens in a company like Wipro. So spend that time, learned the corporate culture, the value of ethics in business, and being very, very honest and being able to do business with different types of clients, different kind of channel partners. So post that, for about 2 years, I switched tracks and moved to the telecom business. So I was working for Sify Technologies, a very leading telecom services provider, providing both telecom services in networks as well as for data centers. So a short stint of about 2 years. Post that, I started work with a company called Datacraft. Early days into the network services business, high technology company. And over the years, Datacraft was taken over by Dimension Data, and then Dimension Data got acquired by NTT. In the last about 7-8 years back, NTT acquired this. So now part of that group, close to almost now 13 plus years with the group, and managing roles again across services. It was the first time, I would say, deep services expertise required, and building the businesses for large Indian clients, large corporate clients, I would say. There are three roles. First role was a profit center head for the west of India region, and this was close to about $140 million of revenues and a very profitable, robust business. It was a complete P&L activity, so it had all the functions that a company runs, like a mini CEO. Post that, I also moved into the managed services business, leading that business for India and building it over a period of time across geographies. It was little early days, I would say, for Dimension Data and NTT to get into that business. And so that was like a startup within a large company, and had all the thrills and chills of actually running a startup and growing that startup. Post that, for about a year and a half, I moved to a different industry, which is around distribution. And that's where Ingram happened. Ingram was planning to build their technology solutions business and services business and wanting to go closer to the clients. So I led that business for a short duration of about 1.5 years. Post that, NTT had gone through a complete merger exercise across the world. And because of that, in India too, there are almost about 15 different companies which got merged under one umbrella called NTT Ltd. So NTT reached out back to me to take up a fairly large role, and that happened about a year back. So now I'm here with NTT leading the services outfit for India. This is a completely technology services driven organization now, which pretty much delivers services across the full stack of IT, right from application services, infrastructure services, cloud services, security services, and a whole lot of it. So that's been I would say, a quick, short brief about my journey in the technology and telecom industry.
That's been really interesting, I'm sure. So as you have handled several and varied roles and responsibilities, have you ever felt that you have had to step out of your area of expertise? And is there some common learning you have taken or any principle you apply to all the roles?
Oh, pretty much. I think, like I mentioned in my stint at Wipro, across 14 years, there were 7 different roles. Every role was a completely, you can say, a blank canvas. You just carry your experience, you just carry your thought process, your thought leadership, and things like people management or process management. But every role was very different. Either I was changing geography, so I had no connections of the past, or I was changing businesses, which had no relation to the past business. So one, I would say, my learning is one, leaves the comfort zone and get into newer domains. It is nothing is more encouraging and more exciting than trying something different. So every role at Wipro was very different. In the last, I would say, 3 or 4 assignments that I've done, it is out of my comfort zones. So I was running a very well-established profit center at Dimension Data, grew it from close to like $20-30 million to about $140 million in 6-7 years. At that point in time, I took up a very challenging, different assignment, running services for India, services business for India, and that was very new, high risk, and also, I would say, like a startup within a large company. So again, what really takes you forward is being very close to clients. That's something which is very common across all the roles that I've done. I feel that being close to client, solving clients' problems, understanding clients' business challenges, and being part of their journey really helps you grow the businesses and work very closely with the clients. Second thing which is very common is people. All the businesses that I have run had very huge contribution from the teams that I've led, the people who kind of worked with me and kind of became good leaders in their own domains. That is the second one. Third is the industry connects that one builds over so many years, and the trust and the faith that the client has with you. So irrespective of the role that you're performing or the company that you work with, I think that individual commitment to the client takes you further in your career. So these are few things that come common to me. Other thing which is luckily the companies that I worked for, they all had extremely high standards when it comes to ethics. Again, very high standards when it comes to businesses that are good for the society. I think the word ESG and all that is currently being spoken about, but I have experienced this over many years where companies that I worked for always felt that the business that we must do, should be something which helps the clients and also does not hurt the environment in a way that some other companies do, right? So I think that is very fortunate for me to kind of get into those kind of roles. So I think that's the learning that I would say I had over the years.
That's really very great. So when we talk about awards, you've been honored with several awards. Which of them do you regard as your biggest achievement and why?
Okay, I think early stage of the career, I was nominated and I won the Group President's Award at Wipro, which was a big thing. And early in the career, I think it really mattered a lot. Winning across a large corporation like Wipro, being selected as one of the best product management experts was a big thing. Lately, I would say in the last year, 2022, I won India's Top Minds Award from the Brand Story, and it was really, I would say, very encouraging. It had a very strong evaluation process done with the consultants and done with some of the agencies that they work with. I felt very honored that amongst so many industry colleagues that were there in the technology industry, I would say probably I was one of the few guys who won this award. So I think that's what I feel is the most important one in my career so far.
So as you have handled directorship roles before, have you ever felt that the government should offer a better corporate governance framework?
Oh yes, I think there's a lot to do there. And I see that there's enough and more potential to standardize processes across industries. There are best practices to be shared across different industries. And I think government can play a huge role there as an enabler. There are companies which are high up there on the corporate governance piece, and there are companies which are, I would say, ignorant or struggling to really follow the norms. But I think yes, there is enough and more to do for the government to bring in the industry together, take best practices from different industries. Also look at benchmarking across the world. And for example, when you look at things like ESG, Europe is kind of way ahead in their journey there. And as a country, I think we can definitely learn from what some of these countries have been able to establish and get the industry to follow. So I see a role definitely for the government here.
Yes. So when we talk about ESG, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
I think a couple of things. One is in terms of the businesses that we do, it's important that we look at little long term and not really looking at the coming quarter or the coming year. But when you take a little long term view, the decisions would be far more compliant to things like ESG. Even corporate governance, for example, is something that is a culture in the organization, and I feel that it is not just driven by the board or a few people on the board. It is the employee culture that makes a huge difference. How do we really ensure that every employee does things which are right? And I think the simplest way or simplest measure is, are the employees able to sleep well every night when they go back home? I think that's a very simple benchmark of are you really following the governance mandates? I also seen that short-term decisions which are taken to to just kind of meet a particular quarter number or a quarter requirement of the company sometimes has long-term damages that one does. So very, very important that we keep a balance between short-term and long-term. Second is what is tactical and what is strategic. One needs to be balanced about both strategic goals as well as the business goals that are there in immediate concerns, right? So these are a few things that come to my mind as somebody who's run this along.
Yes. When we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Technology is now, I think, mainstream, and I don't see any company which can stay away. I think going digital is no longer fashionable. It is something which is mandatory. The clients love to have a digital experience with every brand that they experience. I think as consumers, all of us, when we use a banking service or a telecom service or any online shopping, everything is driven by technology. So I see technology is playing a mainstream role. It's a business enabler. It is no longer just a support function. In most companies that I see, it's a role that rolls up to the board and looks at how we ease the life for a stakeholder in the company, whether it is a company shareholder or an employee or a customer of the company. So technology plays a huge role today. A few new areas that we talked about, like IoT or AI and big data analytics. Now, these are all emerging areas. Each one of them have a tremendous potential. For example, AI, at least I can talk about the business that we are in. We are able to see that a lot of mundane, repetitive tasks, which are more of a legwork kind of a activity, can be done by an AI engine much faster and much more efficient, error-free. And the same time and the effort that is saved because of applications of AI can be utilized to skill up your workforce and ensure that they grow up the value chain and take up assignments, tasks which are much more high value added. Similarly, in the IoT area, we see that particular industries like manufacturing or petrochemical industry or power industry, IoT is going to play a huge role in terms of really gathering information from the machines, ensuring that there is a proactive work done and not really a reactive effort once something goes down. Tracing things like, for example, even in the agriculture industry, sensors are going to play a huge role to ensure how the soil is watered and ensuring that the crop is up to the mark. So we see application of each of these technologies is going to be just going up. Analytics, for example, is something that every industry today is using, whether it is a banking company or a FMCG company. Customer data and analysis of the data can throw in some very sharp insights, which can help businesses take decisions which are far more important to take, early to take, and the difference between some of the winners and losers will be how do you really apply analytics, how do you apply artificial intelligence to really improve the productivity of a business, efficiencies within your business, and cut down wasteful expenditures in the company. So they are all going to deliver a good ROI for the companies.
True, indeed. So, as you know, we are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
I must congratulate WDC for the work that they're doing right now. I don't see much of a I would say community elsewhere where people can share the best practices, learn from each other, and overall I think this is going to have a long-term impact on the industry overall, and this is far-reaching. It is not a short-term one. People in the boards of the different companies have experiences to share. they can cut short the learning for some of the emerging companies, and everybody has something to gain from a community like this. And I'm very happy to be part of such a community. I look forward to really engaging conversations and learning from each other as we really perform the roles as directors in the companies.
Thank you for these really kind words. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much, Mr. Jayant Gundewar, for joining us today. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much once again for joining us today on FaceTime with Leaders. And I'm sure that all your wonderful experiences, your career journey so far, and the principles that you've shared with us, I'm sure, like everyone watching this, it is going to help them grow in their careers too.
Thanks, Falak. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, and have a great day.